Hello, hello, hello. I got a lot of stuff going on in the background doing this voiceover, so if you hear some things, it's just a regular Saturday morning at my house. I wanted to come to you because I am doing Natasha beads again. I have a lot of old canes, as you'll see here. I wanted to find some way to use them. So you see all my canes I have here in this little bucket that I still have left over that I'm not even going to use in this video. So this is what I've picked out. I tried to pick out some contrasting colors at first, and then I was like, forget it. I'm just going to pick out what I know I'm not going to use anymore. So you see what I picked out, and I'm just cutting it up so that I can, get it into pieces that will distribute evenly, or as even as I can get it throughout this mixture that you're going to see. So you can watch me cut it up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have this to, I guess that enough where I can distribute it where it won't be so many touching pieces that are the same. And I'm just going to squish it and manipulate it into a square and into a circle, make a snake out of it, do some twisting and everything. And when you're making Natasha beads, you can't go too far in the twisting or the mixing, because if you go too far, your clay will kind of turn to one certain color that we in the clay community like to call mud. So you can't go too far with it, but just I don't even know how to explain it. Just go until it feels right, until you basically see that it's right, and you see that the colors aren't mixing. As soon as you start to see colors mix a little bit too much, then it's time to stop. So I'm going to let you watch me do the rest of this, and I'll get back with you in a minute. So I'm just squishing it into a square right now, and getting it ready for the cutting. And I am going to put this in my little refrigerator for about 2 hours before I come back to it, because I just wanted to get firm. It's really, really soft right now. You may not be able to tell in the video, but it's really soft. So I want to let it firm up a little bit. So I do that by putting it in the refrigerator. And that is what you see here. I have let it sit for 2 hours and taken it out. And now I'm going to get out my slicer, and we are going to cut into it to make our Natashas. And you'll see that this made some very interesting Natasha beads for me. So I'm going to cut this part in half. Then I'm going to turn them and bring them back together and line them up to the exact pattern that's on the other side of the Natasha, exact as possible. And that's where you get your design. Now this is beautiful just as it is, but in order to get this molded Natasha, you do have to disturb the actual pattern of the Natasha a bit, even before you get it into the mold, depending on what kind of mold you're using, the size, the shape, and all that. For me, I had to kind of manipulate my Natashas at the top so that they would just fit into the mold without losing any of the bead decor. So I'm softly like trying to squish it without really disturbing that beautiful picture that I have on the front. But as I said, you will see that it does get disturbed, and even disturbing it really doesn't hurt it, as you will see when it comes out of this mold. So I'm just pinching just the top of it so that it will fit into the mold, because if I just put it in the mold flatly, I was going to lose even more of the pattern. So I will let you watch me mold it, and you will see how it comes out in a minute. And I'm pressing this really softly, not really hard, because again, I'm not trying to lose the pattern. And cutting off the back is what you normally do with mold. If you've molded too much clay, you have no choice but to do this in order for your back to be smooth. And once I get that cut off, normally I will run my fingers across the back of it until it's really smooth and there are no lumps and bumps. Now the roller, just pay real close attention that I'm going really soft. I'm not squishing as I roll. I'm basically rolling just to smooth out the back, because if you squish down or anything, you're going to disturb whatever pattern you do have, and you may lose some of your Natasha look, or it may even slide within the mold and not be centered anymore. So you have to be careful. And we're going to take it out of the mold here, and there it is. Isn't that just the most beautiful Natasha bead? That is so beautiful, and I didn't lose my center or anything on this one, so I was very happy with this one. And it's very smooth because it came out the mold. You might want to, smooth the sides of it and try to smooth the back a little bit more to save yourself in sanding. But these came out really good, at least this one, and I didn't really have to do any kind of much sanding to it at all. And I'm just going to continue making a few, and I'll get back with you in a second. This one is going to be cute. And there are my two so far that I've made. They are really coming out nicely. I was so pleased with this technique. Anytime you see me rolling, I'm definitely not rolling hard at all. I'm basically just rolling just to flatten it out and to smooth it out so I can cut off the excess clay. And there's another one. Isn't she beautiful? I'm just going to punch a hole into this one, just in case I want to put a bell on this one, just so that it will be different from the other one, but they are coming out nicely. You know, I love hearts, so I decided to get out my heart mold and try to make some Natasha hearts. They worked, but they didn't work, and you'll see. So I still have some of the Natasha, but not some of the Natasha, if you know what I mean. But it's still a pretty bead, still a pretty heart. And these are all the ones that I've made. I think they came out exceptionally well. I just love them, love looking at them close. I'm going to make this last one because I wanted one in a square shape just to see how it would come out. And there he is. Came out very nicely, nice and smooth. I love molds. I just love molds. And that's what made me think to just, hey, I can make Natasha. Let's see what happens if I put them in a mold. So it was a successful experiment. So here they all are, whoops, baked and out of my oven. I already sanded this one. One thing I do notice with the molded Natasha is that they're smooth and everything. This one is really smooth because I sanded it already, and the resin is going to smooth it out even more when I resin this. I'm just going to do a thin layer of resin on them just to protect them. But because as you saw when I was pushing in the mold, I wasn't being really aggressive pushing the clay down into the mold because I knew that I was going to lose some of the formation of the Natasha, but I didn't want to I didn't want to lose a lot. So I wasn't really, and I'm sorry, I just sanded so it's all over my hands. I didn't want to lose a lot of the formation. I'm putting on lotion. I didn't want to lose a lot of the formation of the Natasha because they were really pretty. And like I said, I already knew that I was gonna lose some of it because I was pushing it into a mold. I was prepared for what I was gonna come out with because I knew that it was gonna still be beautiful. So I really like this. It looks like an owl, doesn't it? It looks like a little owl. So it's not as smooth, and I noticed with this technique of pushing a Natasha into a mold, because you can't really be aggressive with it and push it down into the mold, because the more aggressive you are and the more pushing you're doing, like usually if I'm molding something, you know, I would take a piece of clay and put it in here, and then I would roll over it really hard with my roller and then do some squishing like this to try to get it down into the mold. And you can't do that, I found, with trying to mold a Natasha, because it'll be pointless because you won't come out with any of the formation of the Natasha. As you can see, you know, this slid off to the side because that was in the middle. So that's one thing that you have to be ready for, but it still comes out to a beautiful bead. And I know that when I resin these and get them all sanded up, they're going to be even more pretty. I only sanded this with a 400 grit, I think. Let me see, is it this one? Yeah, this one. I don't know if you can see, let me see, get some really closely enough. I'm trying to, but there are holes in, you see that one was right up around there. and there's another one right down there, and that is the middle where I put the Natasha together. And again, because I couldn't really squeeze it and, you know, really push it into the mold, those lines really didn't go away. But again, with sanding and with some resin, I hope to hide that. But that is a beautiful, beautiful bead. One of these I want to try to put some backing on and try to do something a little different with it. Look at that one. That's really pretty too. It looks like another owl down there and a chicken. But I also just, you know, made some beads because I didn't know what I was going to do with any of this, and I was like, oh, if I, you know, make this into a pendant, at least I have these 2 beads to maybe put in some earrings with some glass beads or something like that. And these I just made for fun because I don't know if you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I'm in love with love, you know, loving people and just, you know, living. And I love, love, love hearts. When people purchase from my store, I put an actual heart charm on the package when I pack it to them. So that is what we have out of the oven. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and sand these up because, as you can see, they have some rough edges on the back. I saw one of my clay buddies, and I've seen this before from several, but it was just a recent video I watched by the Clay Sanctuary. She actually made some beautiful, beautiful tiger eye that I'm going to try. But I like the technique where she took her bead, like this is one of the flatter ones out of all of these. She took a bead like this and she resined it and made it all pretty and everything, and then she put it on some backing and cut around it and textured the backing. I mean, it was just really pretty. So I'm going to try that technique with this, and I'm going to make all of these on off camera and come back and show them to you. But this one I'm going to make on camera and actually give it a backing. I think I want to get some of this rough off the back. I'm not going to sand the front right now because I'm going to rebake it, which I could. I don't think it would make a difference, but I'm going to sand the back of it and make a little backing on that one and try to make like a real pendant. But when I saw her do that on her video yesterday with that tiger eye, I was like, oh, let me try that, because that is a cool technique. So I'm going to do that with this and sand all of these up, and I'll be back to do this project, and then we'll see what it turns out. Fingers crossed. All right, so I'm basically done. I'm just going to resin up the rest of these Natashas so that you can see how they all came out, and I will get back with you. And this is how they all came out. I really enjoyed making these molded Natasha beads. I'm not going to say it's my technique. I've never seen it on YouTube. I searched for it. That doesn't mean it's not out there. I may not have just seen it, but I haven't seen a video of someone molding a Natasha bead. If you have one, please send it to me, because I would like to see what they did and how successful theirs were. Not as experienced as the rest of the clay community, so if there's one out there, please let me know. But I absolutely love this technique, and I want to try it again to try to perfect it so that I don't lose my centers, and try it in different types of molds to see how it comes out. So this is my version of molded Natasha beads, and this is how they came out. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Please subscribe. Leave me a comment below. I love speaking back to you guys, and I will see you in the next video.